Welcome to Design Domination, where you'll gain confidence, clarity, and a competitive edge in a crowded marketplace so you can dominate your competition. Before I get started, I have to give a huge shout out to designer Daniel George for creating an amazing video intro for the podcast. It was so much more than I could have even imagined. Thank you so much, Daniel. You can find his work at vimeo.com/videos that impress. Hi, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Colleen Grotzer, and in this episode of Design Domination, I'm joined by special guest Sarah Masci to talk about day rates and how designers can benefit from them. Stick around to get lots of insights on this topic. Sarah is the CEO and founder of Day Rate Mastery, an online company that teaches expert service providers how to work less and make more with a streamlined VIP business model. Years of running a traditional design business filled with scope creep, inconsistent timelines, and overlapping client projects eventually resulted in classic burnout. That became the catalyst that sparked Sarah's desire to create a better process. Since its inception in 2019, Day Rate Mastery has helped thousands of freelancers rediscover joy in their work and the freedom they'd lost along the way. You can visit Sarah's website at sarahmasci.com or find her on Instagram and Facebook. Welcome to the podcast, Sarah. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Hey, Colleen. Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to dive into all things day rates with you guys today.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Okay, so a couple of important questions, of course, and that is, would you rather show up at a party overdressed or underdressed?
Definitely overdressed.
I think I would agree with that. And then what is your fave decade for music?
Yeah, this is a hard one for me, but I am going to age myself and say the 80s.
Yeah.
I feel like I can just like relate to every 80s song, whereas all of the other decades, it's like I don't always know or like every single song I hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I like the 80s. I grew up in the 80s, but I also grew up in the late 70s, so I do like the 70s too.
Yeah, that was going to be my second choice too. So we must be the same age.
Yeah, we might be. All right, so day rates. Okay, so before day rates, how were you charging for projects in your business?
Yeah, I was doing mostly like not project based, but I was like charging a la carte for things. So I really started my design business doing logos. So I was charging like $99 for a logo and like $150 for a postcard, stuff like that. So it was all very a la carte. And then I would just, add up everything they wanted. And that's how I would come up with like a custom proposal.
And so why did you start charging day rates?
Well, obviously that $99 for logo was very cheap. And as everyone knows, like a logo should be more than $99. It takes a lot of work. There's so much strategy and everything that goes into it. So I actually did transition from charging like that way from like, that was like, just to kind of back up. I mean, I started my online business in 2005 and then really started like designing around 2010. So it's been a while. And so I evolved from those like cheap $99 logos into doing more digital strategy and brand strategy with my clients. So at that point, that's when I learned that I needed to be charging more like for the value and the strategy that was going into the process of the branding. And so I then kind of evolved into like $500 for a brand strategy, and that included, the logo design. And then from there, I evolved into web design, and so I was charging kind of based on number of pages they wanted, all that kind of thing. And I guess the big idea, though, even though I kind of evolved from a la carte to projects, I was still not charging enough, and I did not have strong enough boundaries in my business that helped me keep projects on track. And so I was, all these projects were dragging on and on. They were supposed to be 12 weeks and they turned into 12 months. And so
oh my God, right?
I was like, okay, I quoted $2,000 for this project. It was supposed to be done, in 8 weeks or whatever. And here we are 8 months later, and I'm still working on this $2,000 project. So when you do the math, I felt like I was just kind of everything was taking forever and I wasn't getting paid enough. And so I would then add on more clients to kind of fill in the gaps for all those delays. And so then I would end up with like 10 clients at any given time. And then, all of a sudden, like every client needs something the same week and you're scrambling. And so it was just that curse that happened over and over and over again that led me, like I said, or like you said in my intro, to burnout and finding a better process. And so it was like one day in 2018 when I had all those clients, and I had a previous client come back to me and tell me, and she asked me for just a handful of punch list type things that she needed done. And normally I would have said, okay, well, this is going to take this long and this is going to take this long and and I would have added it all up and given her a custom proposal. But honestly, I didn't even have time to do that proposal process. So I was like, how about you just pay me for a day and I'll do all of it in a day? And it was just like this random, on a whim thought that came to me. And I just like threw it out there. She agreed to it. We did it. And it was truly like the best design experience I had ever had with a client. And so from that point forward, that's what I did. I just kept pitching those VIP days.
Well, I mean, yeah, we can all relate to all of those stories, right? I mean,
Yeah.
first off, yeah, designers are always giving away brand strategy for free, always charging for time and not value. And yeah, and then the scope creep and then yeah, things dragging out. I mean, and also like you always get it like, oh, we need it by a certain date, but then you, we get that stuff done on time, right? But they decide to drag their feet and then change the deadline all the time. So yeah, it gets
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just felt like I was constantly, like, trying to fill in with I was out there, like, looking for new clients to fill in where, those other clients were delayed, and it was just creating total chaos in my back end, like, in my
Yeah.
systems. Yeah.
It never fails that they all want everything at one time.
Yeah, they're
Never
all
fails.
yeah, exactly.
So how did charging day rates, like, change things for you and your business?
Oh, well, it was like instant boundaries. All of a sudden, like clients, like we have one day to get everything done. And so they paid for their day. And of course I had to like kind of iron out all the kinks over a period of time, like as I was just starting offering. I mean, my first VIP day or day rate, I charged $500 because I didn't like factor in the time to like the onboarding and the offboarding and all of those various parts that really didn't go into the actual hours spent during the day, but it still was like administrative time. And so I had to learn, like I had to like build up the confidence to be able to charge more. And so um over time I charged more and more and more. Every few months I would raise my prices. So over time I saw a huge increase in my profitability because I was still only working one day and I was charging $2,000, $3,000, etc. for the day. But really, it put those boundaries in place. It allowed me to not feel like I had to be working every single day. I didn't have daily deadlines. Now it became okay, I have to work with this client on Monday and this client on Wednesday. And then on Friday is like admin day, making sure, things are all ready to go for the following week. And eventually, once I started doing these VIP days over and over again, I saw a lot of with like the same things happening, kind of like I was doing like the same things. And so I was like, oh, I can automate this. I can turn this into a workflow. And I was able to productize a lot of the offer and automate so much of it that I was able to really remove myself from like the administrative side of my business. And I was able to remove a VA from my team who was helping me with a lot of administrative stuff before the day rate method.
Well, you know what you said about you had to develop more confidence to charge more, and I've been in that situation so many times, and so many of my listeners too, and it's like charging more, we're always like, "Oh, is the client going to be accepting of that?" Right? Or like, "Are we gonna have their approval?" And it's like, it's not
Yeah,
about that. It's what are you charging? What do you need to charge to be profitable? It isn't even profitable for you to charge what you're charging because if it's not, don't be in business because you're just losing money, right? And it's like,
right.
it's funny that you're saying that because it's like, well, we're usually the problem, our own problem, by not just stepping up And I mean, you can't just like say, I'm going to be confident and like it happens at the flick of a switch. Obviously, it doesn't happen. It took me many years to get over a lot of issues to get there, but many times. But yeah, it's usually us putting that obstacle in front of ourselves. And it's not usually the client saying no, but it's that fear, you know. But
Yeah.
I saw the other day in this graphic designers group where someone was like, they were in awe because they I had mentioned that yes, I have charged like I don't know, $700 or $1,000 for a simple flyer because it was a rush job. And it already had like an existing design I had to follow, right? I'd already created that, but I had to do the work and I had to sit there for the day and pretty much be on call to make any edits because it was an urgent job and they needed it done by the end of the day. And these other designers were like, "Well, I can't imagine, like, you might have just spent like 2 hours on it or something." I'm like, "Right, but I was available to them. I had to be available to them, and they needed to pay for that." So and they said, "I don't see how you could justify charging that." I said, "That's the problem because it's all up here." And I used to think exactly like that, and you can't think like that. You have to stop thinking about time. You have to stop thinking about, "This is just a whatever." If you're saying it's just a this or whatever, then you're not gonna be as profitable. You have to get over that and, like you're saying, like, charge day rate, charge value. So
Yeah, the whole like it's like the day rate is so different from the value-based pricing or the hourly pricing because yes, you're charging for your time, but it's how you value your time. Like how like what would make this a win-win for you? I mean, if when I first started, I mean, I said it was $500 a day and my coach was like, "You need to be charging double. You need to be charging at least $1,000." And I thought she was crazy. I was like, there's no way anybody's going to pay me $1,000 for a day. Like that was just way too obscure in my mind to even comprehend that anybody would think that my work was that valuable. And so then I jumped up to $750 a day. And I had a bunch of clients book me at $750 a day. And it was like that whole process of starting low and then incrementally raising it. With every increment, clients would still pay me, and then they would send me these like raving testimonials, and I'm like, oh, okay, so people are totally valuing me at $750 a day. So why not just try 950 a day? And I'm like, I'll hit 950 and all the clients will stop. There won't be any more clients. And then I'm like, I'll have to go back. But sure enough, when I went to 950, clients still kept paying me. And so by having those little small incremental raises, like increases in your price, it builds your confidence little by little that you are worth charging, that you are that valuable, that the work you're providing is that valuable to your client. So it's not about value-based pricing and saying, well, this project is going to be worth $10,000 to you, so I need to charge you $10,000. It's not about that. It's about like how you value your time, your skills, and your expertise. So if you're like brand new to design and you're still slow, you're still Googling things, you're still YouTubing things, and you're still trying to figure things out, then maybe you're not in a position to charge $3,000 for a day. But if you are a designer who's been doing this for a long time, you have amazing testimonials, you do quality work, and you're able to work quickly and efficiently, then people will pay thousands of dollars for that speed and efficiency to get their work done from you in a day.
and it's also that convenience you're offering them too.
Yeah. Yes,
That's
exactly.
smart.
Right. That's what I mean. Like that's the speed. Like they're going to get high quality work and they're going to get it fast, as opposed to high quality work that might be slower and take six weeks or longer. So it's so valuable.
Well, when you first brought it up to that first client and to other clients, especially ones that you had already been charging differently in the past, how did they respond to that? Like, how did you explain it to them and what did they say about it?
So all of those previous clients, I was still charging pretty low. That $500 client, it was like a no-brainer for her. She was like, sure, yeah, no problem. So that was great. And then a few more clients after that were clients that I had worked with. I had like designed their website on Squarespace, or I don't know. There was like they were like these, or you know what? I was actually designing websites on Weebly like way, way back when I first was only doing branding and I didn't know really how to do any code or WordPress. And so I just was creating these websites on Weebly. Well, then over time I was learned WordPress and I learned, how to like build design better on WordPress. And so I would have these old clients come back to me and say, can we move my website to WordPress? And in my mind, I was thinking, okay, well, I already built it on Weebly, and they don't have any problem with the way it looks. They just want the WordPress platform. And so I was like, I can easily recreate their website on WordPress in a day. So I think I offered those at like $700, and it was like there was no new design. It was just really rebuilding their site on a new platform. $700, no brainer. They all said yes. So I did like 2 or 3 of them at that price. And then from that point, it kind of started to become new clients. So I did have a few return clients come back to me asking for updates, and I would usually pitch them in the $750 to $1,000 range for a day. But anytime a new client would come to me, they were not aware of what I had previously been charging. So when I would say it's $1,000 or $1,250, it was like a no-brainer for them as well. And so, yeah, it just kind of, it was like all of these layers of old clients coming back and me trying to kind of meet them halfway at like the old rate versus what the new rate was, but also letting them know this is a new way I'm working. It's 100 times more efficient than the old way. You're going to get your project done in one day. There's not going to be any back and forth. You won't have to be answering emails for 6 weeks. Like, we will literally get it done in a day. And those clients saw value in that and booked it right away.
Did any of them say, no, this is not for me? And
No, no.
none.
Most people were like, this is genius. Why aren't more designers doing this? Because in
Really?
2018, there weren't that many designers that were offering like that 1 day process. And so many discovery calls when I would explain how I would do it, or in an email, they were like, this is genius. I just love how you do this. And I wish more designers did it this way. And that's what sparked my idea to go out there and see if other designers wanted to learn the process. But yeah, for a long time, when I was really the only one, and it also helped me stand out in like when I would, if someone would post in a Facebook group that they were looking for a designer, and you would see like 30 or 40 designers offer their services and a link to their website. And then I would go in there and say, yes, this is exactly what I do, and I can help you, and we can actually get it done in one day, as opposed to waiting 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And so many of those posts resulted in clients. So
Oh,
it really just
wow.
helped me stand out. Yeah.
Okay, so you started at 500 and then you went up incrementally. But how did you initially figure out what to charge for the day rate? Like, did you look at like, okay, here's what my expenses are, here's it. Like, did you do any analysis of things? Like, or did it just come out of your head? Like, how did you, was it based on the type of work? How did you figure out what to charge for the day
Um,
rate?
I based it on an hourly rate because that first client, I estimated that it would take me about 10 hours. So really, to be truthful with that, it was $500. So it was $500 for 10 hours. And I think instead of doing it all in one day, I think we did 2 5-hour days. So it was like 5 hours one day and 5 hours the next day. I think it's so hard to like remember that exact day, but I do recall basing it on an hourly rate of $50 an hour and allotting 10 hours towards the project. So that's how I came up with that first price, but I didn't factor in, like I said, the pre-intensive, like the onboarding, the kickoff call. So I do a kickoff call with all of my day rate clients. So you have to really factor those things in. So the way I teach the pricing model in a couple of different ways. So I teach you a few different ways to do it. But the original way was take your hourly rate, figure out how many days or how many hours you're going to work it during that day, and then tack on about 3 to 4 more hours at the beginning and at the end for that pre-intensive and post-intensive support, and then multiply that by your hourly rate, and then multiply that by 150% to make up for that efficiency tax of like getting it done in one day.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, so does this work better for certain types of work? Or like, would you say, okay, this will work for this or that, but maybe it won't work for certain types of projects?
In the design world, I mean, I feel like it could work for anybody who can compress their work into a block of time. As long as you have everything you need ahead of time, and you can sit. Like, some people maybe do have disabilities that don't allow them to sit for an entire day and focus on one project. So then maybe it wouldn't work for you. But even in that type of situation, we've had students who have health issues that prevent them from being able to sit for extended periods of time. And so they, instead of doing a VIP day or a day rate, they will sell half days, or they'll do like a VIP week, and they'll take the same general concept but spread it out over several days. So I think that's a big thing to keep in mind, is that we're talking about day rates and VIP days, but it doesn't have to happen in one day. It's more about creating that container of time and that VIP experience that's going to get the transformation or the result to the client in a much faster turnaround than what it normally would have taken, like in a traditional model.
So what about when you have projects where a client needs to give you feedback? Like it could be branding, because you were talking about originally the punch list. So they've already got requests ready for you to, bang out on the website or whatever. But something where you need to get their feedback, like on branding or some other kind of work, are they usually making themselves available to respond to you right away?
Yeah, so that's the biggest part of the design day, VIP day, is that you are working. We're not on Zoom, like we're not doing a whole face to face during the day, but I do need the client to commit to being available all day through a communication app of choice. So whether it's, Voxer or Slack or Messenger or whatever, but the client needs to be available to you. So as you're creating things and you're sharing those concepts and those proofs and those, iterations of whatever, the client can give you feedback right away. And so it really comes down to setting those strong boundaries and setting the expectations with the client ahead of time, that they're going to need to be able to make quick decisions. And the more changes and revisions they ask for, the less we're actually going to get done. Because when we get to the end of the day, we're going to do as much as we can in one day, but when the day is over, the day is over. And so that kind of leads me to the whole next thing we can talk about, which is like promising deliverables.
Mhm.
But to answer your question about feedback, yes, like you want them to be there available. And if they're not available, um, sometimes you can't keep going. Like, what if a big thing that would happen is they would give me their logins for all of their different platforms. And what if a login doesn't work? Or what if it requires two-factor verification? So I need to be able to be like, hey, what's the 6-digit code that you just got in your email? So I can type it in and get in. And if the client isn't there to respond to me right away, then I'm just going to sit here for the next however long waiting to hear back from you, because I can't move on until I get into your WordPress website or your email app or whatever it is.
Yeah, I didn't even think about those kinds of things. Yeah, that could really put a wrench in things. Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, what do you do then if you're not done that day, but they've only reserved and are paying you for 1 day?
Right. And so that's where it kind of really comes back to, especially in the design space or any creative service that you're offering, that does have feedback and, revisions and things. You have to be very firm in your boundaries, that I cannot guarantee we're going to have every single thing done today, because yes, I can work fast. And yes, I have done this in the past. I've done a full brand in a day for this client and this client and this client. But those clients were available to me all day. They were 100% responsive, and they didn't ask me for hours of revisions and changes throughout the day. So I was able to keep moving forward. Whereas if you get a client who books you for a day and they're super picky and they ask for like all of these little tweaks and changes, then you're going to end up at the end of the day and you're not going to be done because you kept having to make changes. And so, one example of this was when I was working on branding, and um, there was 3 people on the team, client's team, and they all wanted to weigh in on the colors for the brand, and they could not agree on like one color. And they went around and around and around between the 3 of them through Messenger, like, can we see it this way? Can we see it this way? Well, what about this? What about this? And they're like almost 2 hours went by, and I'm like, guys, like we can't move forward with any of the collateral until we have the color nailed down. And so we got to the end of the day, and unfortunately, they did not get as many pieces of collateral that they would have gotten had they just been more decisive at the beginning of the day.
Okay, so in that kind of situation, do they just need to reserve another day at some point
Yes.
then to
Yeah. So what I like to do is typically like an hour or two before the end of the day, I will let the client know, like, okay, we've got an hour left and we've gotten this, and this done. There's still a few more things on your list. I don't think we're going to be able to get to all of it. So, out of all these things left on the list, is there anything that you want me specifically to focus on? And then I'll say, and if you want me to finish everything, we can absolutely do another half day together. And here's a link to book a half day or a full day or whatever, just depended on the client. But yeah, so you want to be transparent about that up front. Like when they book the day, you want to let them know that you don't guarantee deliverables. You have a track record of completing all of this stuff in a day, but it's really up to the client to make sure that we get as much done, and let them know like there you can always book more time with me. So, yes, I have a hard stop at this time, but we can do another day.
one of the questions that someone in my Facebook group had asked me about to ask you, he said, should a day rate be associated with a retainer agreement? But it sounds like it's since it's not an ongoing thing that
Yeah.
it doesn't need to have that. Is that right?
No, I mean, I do have students who have retainer clients who book one day a month. So you
Oh, okay.
could have, maybe you have a retainer client right now who maybe they pay you for 10 hours a month. And they're right now they're coming in spurts, and it's like an hour here, 2 hours there, half hour here. And you're like doing all that multitasking and juggling. And you could go to those clients, the 10-hour a month client or the 20-hour a month client, and say, I'm changing, the way I'm working. I'm going to be working in half days or full day sprints going forward. So let's take your retainer and turn it into one day a month or 2 days a month or whatever. But yeah, I've had a lot of students with retainer clients who just had day rate retainers.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, another designer told me that his experience with day rates was that the client just wanted to get a cheaper hourly rate. But it sounds like you haven't had a response like that from any clients.
No, no. I mean, yeah, no, because you're always getting way more. So you think about it, I went from that $50 an hour, that $500 that first one to $3,000 for a day. Um, I don't know what $3,000 comes out to when you look at the hours, right?
A nice chunk of change.
Yeah, it's like $280 an hour or something. So you really are getting paid a lot more for your time as you increase your prices. And then you can work fewer days. So, like, if you're charging $3,000 for a day and your goal is to make 10K in a month, you only have to work 4 days a month, not even, right? You only have to
Love
work
that.
3.5 days to hit your 10K goal. And that's what happened for me was I was able to scale way back on the done for you service, the day rate clients, and focus my time on creating my courses and my digital products, which then allowed me to scale beyond done for you services because that 3K a day just freed up so much time in my schedule that I otherwise would not have had, and I wouldn't have been able to spend creating courses.
I can totally relate to that because I've been creating courses now over the past 2 years, and it's a whole nother business, and it's like going back and forth between 2 businesses is a lot.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
an awful
yeah,
lot.
that was my biggest, like, I always knew I wanted to create a course, and it was just, like, trying to squeeze in those pockets of time and trying to get it done, so, yeah.
That's great. Well, so do they normally pay everything up front or they pay like 50% up front and then they pay the rest at the end? How does that work?
I give my clients the option to pay either in full right at the beginning, or they can do 50% deposit and then pay the balance. I personally have mine paid like on the day of the intensive, like it's due on that day. But a lot of people will say it's due the day before or it's due 1 week before, just to make sure they get paid before they actually start the intensive. Just kind of going back, way back to the beginning, like I always had boundary issues. And so I was like, oh, yeah, they'll pay me. And they did. Like they really did. Like I never had a client not pay me the balance of their intensive. I had one client who it took her like 4 days to get me that balance, but otherwise everyone, they respect you, they respect your time, and you're working with them all day. They're not just gonna disappear without paying you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I used to have lots of boundary issues. I can relate to that. I had lots of them. Well, so this has been really, really insightful. I'm sure everybody's going to find this extremely interesting. I'm fascinated by it. And I need to take some of these lessons to put them into practice. So how can designers get started charging day rates?
I think the best thing to do is to not overthink it. Like I did that very first one, it was just like very random. It was on a whim. Like I didn't plan anything ahead of time. I had no systems in place. I had no automations or workflows or any of that. I literally just said, okay, you know what? She wants this. I do not have the time to create a proposal. So, how about you just pay me for a day and we'll do it in a day? And that's how it started for me. So, my message to everyone is to just start, do it messy, put the offer out there. Don't overthink it and don't worry about having everything figured out. Those things will fall into place as you do more and more of them. Be honest with your client and tell them, I've never done this before, but let's try. But you can be like, I don't have any availability to do a project for the next several weeks, but I could squeeze you into one day if you want to try this. It's a new offer. Why don't we give this a try? And just be honest and don't worry about like perfection and having everything figured out.
Yeah, that can be difficult for many of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, designers especially, and we're all perfectionists. We all want everything to be just like this perfect, experience, the perfect everything. And once I threw the idea of perfection out the door, that is truly when my business just like took off and things became so much easier for me. And I was able to like rediscover that freedom and all of those things that I set out for at the beginning of my business.
That's wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
so this has been really great. So where can designers find out more about you and how you can help them?
Okay, yeah, they can go to my website. It's sarahmasci.com. So I have a free checklist and I have a free masterclass. So depending on what you prefer, yeah, an opt-in for both. And the best part is if you opt in for one or the other, you will get the other one as well. So if you opt in for the checklist, I'll send you a link to the masterclass. And if you opt in for the masterclass, I'll send you the checklist as well. So you can find all of those right on my homepage at sarahmasci.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. This has been awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Colleen. This has been great. I appreciate it.
If this content was helpful, you can support the podcast by buying me a coffee. It might actually end up being a glass of wine or some tea, but you could go to buymeacoffee.com/creativebooth.